This is Frank Islam, Chairman and CEO of FI Investment Group, and your host of Washington Calling, where we interview leading voices from business, politics that impact you, the viewer. Today, our guest is Shilpa Raj. Shilpa has a remarkable success story and a thoughtful journey. She comes from a Dalit Christian family. Now she's training to be a child psychologist. Thank you very much, Shilpa, for coming, and we appreciate it. And
Thank you, Frank.
congratulations for all you have done. Your journey reminds me my own personal background from India long years ago, and I made it in America. So tell us a little bit about who you are to the audience and your journey. Your journey should resonate well with the millions of people across the globe, and you made impossible as possible. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Shilpa?
Firstly, yes, thank you, Frank, for taking the time to talk to me. I'm very excited to be meeting you. And so my name is Shilpa, and I'm 26 years old. And my journey began in a very humble way. I was born in a poor village in rural Karnataka, and my father, as well as the rest of the community, indulged in brewing and selling illicit liquor. So as a child, I grew up no stranger to violence and alcoholism, and my life would have been no different from that of the other children in the village had I not had a life-changing opportunity to study in a school called Shantibhavan. And I was selected at the age of 4, and this organization carried me through all the way from the first day of school, and it continues to support my education. I have a master's degree in psychological counseling, and currently I'm pursuing a degree once again in the field of psychology, but with specialization in child and adolescent psychology. Having come from the kind of community that I hail from, I've seen firsthand what the lack of access to mental health care has done. And I firmly believe that if we do not serve our children, we will be doing a huge disservice to the future adults and the future leaders of tomorrow. And
Very
so
nice.
I'm, yes.
Shilpa, education, as you know, President Obama, who's a personal friend, said, will be the currency of the 21st century. And it frees the human mind from the shackles of ignorance. Education got you out of the poverty. It is an opportunity creator and bridge builder. Tell us how the education transformed your life and your journey.
For me, the power of education has completely transformed my life. I am where I am today because of this life-changing opportunity, and that made it possible for me to transcend poverty and embrace possibility. And when I talk about education, what we need to be discussing here is the quality of education, the kind of education that institutions like Shanti Bhavin are offering the young generation. So I was fortunate to go to a school where the focus wasn't just limited to offering me the basic literacy skills or tools such as reading and writing. It went far beyond that. And I had an education system that completely groomed my personality, an education system that emphasized on leadership and entrenching social, universally shared humane values within the individual.
So it transformed your life. And
Definitely.
education transcends all boundary, as President Kennedy once said. Tell me, what difficulty did you face because of your family background as a Dalit? And did you face the hostility, prejudice, and discrimination because who you are, and how you were able to overcome those challenges to become a role model for others and broke the barrier of the biases?
Frank, I'd like to make one thing clear. I was lucky to be removed from having to live in the having to live on a daily basis in my village, where you were exposed to this social discrimination brought about by the caste system. So I, unlike my family members, never got to experience it firsthand on a daily basis. I was exposed to it only during the brief vacations from school, the times that I went home. And during that short time, my family did try to remove me or keep me away from experiencing those hardships. But the little that I did experience was enough to make me angry, was sufficient to make me feel strongly enraged and make me want to do something to curb this social evil. And today, in fact, there's one incident that remains very strongly in my mind, and this is an incident where my father took me to visit the landlord's house where he had worked as a child laborer. And while he was taking me around the house and I tried to step into the kitchen, he stopped me. And when I asked him why, he said, he replied by saying that weren't considered worthy of stepping into it. It was considered
Wow.
a holy place. But my education had taught me that the caste system was a man-made social evil created to oppress uh, those less powerful. And I was very bold, and I put one foot inside the kitchen because I wanted to defy this social evil. And that's
Wow.
not changed. That's definitely not changed. But I've asked my family. I am um, I'm saying this with great humility, but I am the first, not just within my immediate family, but in the entire village, to be pursuing a second master's degree. And very soon I'll be heading off to university for my doctorate in child psychology. So I am the most educated girl in the village, and yet I'm not worthy of marrying a man from a upper caste. That
Can
just
you
doesn't
believe
make
that?
sense.
Well,
Yes,
as you probably know, my wife is an American.
yes,
I'm
yes,
not
I
sure you
do.
did. And tall
I
blonde,
have. Yes, I
tall
did my
blonde
research
girl.
on you, Frank.
Okay,
I did my
so
homework on you.
and you speak so eloquently, and you're absolutely right. Those are the darkest and ugliest behavior of the people, and those are the things you need to do to make sure that you can break the barrier or the bias that divide us. We need to figure out how to unite us, not to divide us. Now, you are a role model, just not for your community, but whole India. Do you think the girls, the Dalit girls, especially from your village and other part of the world, will follow in footsteps and get a good education?
Regardless of whether the girls belong to a Dalit community or not, Frank, but just being female in an Indian society, where you have
Is it good?
the
Yeah.
where you
Go ahead.
have the
Go ahead.
overwhelming, yes, where you have the overwhelming oppression of patriarchy all the time looming over you. So just being female itself brings so many challenges with it. And I've been very happy to see that members of my immediate family, as well as distant relatives and the neighbors, are now very motivated to send their girls to school after seeing the great good that an education has done for me. So that's been something very
Wonderful.
uplifting.
It empowers the mind and uplifts the soul. Correct?
Definitely. Yes.
Tell me a little bit about since you talk about the education in the village, in the community, and people who come from poor background. What can be done to ensure that we can provide them affordability, accessibility to education? Because this is what got you who you are today. Do you have any thoughts on that to remedy the situation?
That's a great question with a very long and tough answer. I think it will
That's
have
okay, but give me a short answer.
I firmly believe in the quality of education that we're offering our children. And it's the quality of education that completely transformed my life. And while the aspiration has set in I would say, quite recently, I do see a lot of enthusiasm, and finally, the aspiration has set in that regardless of whether you're poor or not, there is that desire to send your child to school. So that's definitely set in. But what kind of a school can you send your child to is where the problem lies, because the accessibility doesn't match the aspiration. And there are three systems, there are three powerhouses working here. You have the government run institutions, you have the private institutions like the top institutions that I had a chance to go to for my higher studies in Bangalore and now in Delhi. And you have the NGO sector like Shantibhavan. So when you have these three sectors, and I feel if there was a way to have all three of them work together, if the government has the key role, at the end of the day, the buck stops with the government. The government has great power to do good, but the good quality education right now is being provided by private institutions and NGOs. So if the government could provide a lot more scholarships, higher scope of scholarships for the poor, then they too could avail of better opportunities to study or to access the higher quality education that's provided by either the NGOs or the private institutions. And the government should not get involved in the kind of education that the
Very
institution
well
will
said.
go on to provide.
Right.
For
And I
example,
totally agree. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
for example, the reason Shanti Bhavan has been successful, one of the reasons I would say is because it's been able to keep the government away. We did with great hardship.
Keep them on the bay.
Yes.
So you mentioned on many occasions I heard that the commitment of philanthropists and NGO like Dr. George, who made a profound and meaningful difference to you and many others. What can be done to get individuals like George to be engaged in philanthropic activities? As you know, it's an investment that can yield exponential returns. It's not a charity. It's not a handout. Tell us a little bit about that. Go ahead.
First of all, it starts with the desire to do good.
Desire to
And
do good.
once the
That's a
desire
very well
is
said.
there, yes, are you willing? Are you determined? Are you willing to go that extra mile to match your actions with that desire? And my life was transformed because an individual like Dr. George, a rich businessman, decided to invest in
What's
uplifting the
the George?
lives of children like
What's George's last name is Shilpa?
his
What is
last
George's last name?
his full name is Dr. Abraham George, Matthew George.
Okay, and where does he live? Where is he from?
He's from Trivandrum. He's from Trivandrum, but he moved to the US in his early 20s and
Okay,
had a very
I
successful
think I
business
know.
career.
I think I know of him. I think I know him.
And he made a
Wonderful.
commitment to himself that before he turned 50, he would return to India and work to elevate poverty. And he stood up to that commitment, and he continues to do so. So this is compassion in action, and the power of that
Very
is
well said.
boundless.
Very well said. What can India diaspora like George Abraham can do to help people like you because they have the capability, the capacity, and responsibility to help and support because you are the hope for tomorrow. You are the next generations of India, regardless where you come from, regardless of who you are, regardless of your background, belief, what you believe in it. Your success is our success, and it's India's success.
Uh, it's been a really tough journey for an entrepreneur like Dr. George. It's been a journey of tireless effort and years of commitment. And what Shanti Bhavan, this model and the success of it shows is that it's not too hard to do. There are people out there with the financial ability to help those beyond their own. And if we were able to pull them in, pull those resources, pull those individual abilities together, you would be changing not just one life, but all the lives that one particular child will go on to impact. And in doing so, you will let loose this cycle of a multiplicative effect of change.
Very well said. So Shilpa, what's next for you before we close the conversation? You want to come to United
Uh,
States?
yes, I just recently heard that I've received admission for a PhD program in the States at
Where?
Hofstra University. At Hofstra
Which
University,
university?
Hofstra,
Where is,
Hofstra
I don't know.
University,
Oh, okay. That's in
Hofstra,
Philadelphia, right? Eh?
in Long Island. Long Island.
Okay. It's
It's
not that
45
far
minutes
from
from
where
New
I
York.
live. Yeah, it's
Yes,
about 3 or 4 hours from my home in Washington D.C. It's a beautiful
yes,
place. So
yes. You're beautiful.
pardon? Go
I
ahead.
was saying, your beautiful home in Washington D.C.
It is one of the largest home in the world.
I
And
was mesmerized when I saw.
uh, the drone shot you decide. It is President uh, Clinton said, "Your house makes the White House looks like a public housing." So I don't want to talk about me. I want to talk about you. So thank you very much for coming, and we appreciate all you're doing it to make a difference in people's life. And your journey
Thank you.
should resonate with the millions of people across the globe because you made impossible as possible, you made irrelevant as relevant, you made unacceptable as acceptable. And and it reminds me of my own personal story and journey from a remote village to India to United States of America. But you have a lot of things to offer to the country, to not only to India, but to the world. And thank you for coming. This is Frank Islam wishing you a great week.